A year out from the 2026 Victorian state election, Jacinta Allan, the Premier, she decided to stage a series of media interviews across the weekend in her hometown, long way away from Melbourne, and the political base of Bendigo, while admitting to the Australian's Anthony Galloway, who, by the way, we'll catch up with shortly, that one of her closest advisors is still the largely loathed ex-Premier Daniel Andrews. Well, maybe that explains why Victoria has the worst debt of any state in Australia by a million miles, while Melbourne is a crime-ridden, graffiti-smeared shell of its former self. Why those Victorians who can are getting out, why it has the worst-performing real estate market in the nation, with property owners smashed by land tax bills, and last week, why a 91-year-old woman with a fractured pelvis and horribly bruised face was told, get yourself to hospital. Now, maybe Daniel Andrews has an answer to all of that mess, and that's why Jacinta Allan thinks it's a good idea to tell the world she considers him such a great sounding board, saying in the Galloway interview this morning, quote, I feel really fortunate to have Steve Bracks, John Brumby and Daniel Andrews, three former premiers who I can tap into for support, advice, information, share a laugh and share a joke, unquote. Well, Premier, I'm not sure there's a lot to laugh about in Victoria and not a lot to joke about either, given the bin fire you're running in the once great state of Victoria. The state's debt is unbelievable. It's predicted to hit $194 billion by the end of the decade, with one estimate putting the daily interest payment every day, the daily interest payment to service that debt at $40 million a day, or if you like it, just under $2 million an hour every hour of every day. The figures are just so huge, so outrageous, so high that most people can't even get their heads around it. And it seems the voting public of Victoria, well, they don't care because they keep electing Labor election after election. 3 times Daniel Andrews was voted in, even after imposing the longest COVID lockdowns anywhere in the world. Victorians seem to have Stockholm syndrome. Either that or they are just gluttons for punishment. Or is it that the great immigration Ponzi scheme that has seen Victoria's, with that read Melbourne's population, grow by 2 million people since 2000. That's 2 Adelaides. Now, many of that 2 million have been jammed into the sprawling western suburbs of Melbourne that will, before the next election, get an over-budget and over-time Westgate Tunnel, providing a second crossing of the Yarra, just in time for voting day. Surprise, surprise. Plus, this year, the Metro Tunnel project, another tunnel bypassing Melbourne's jammed-up city loop, that'll open. Shiny, new, expensive infrastructure projects aimed at voters, while at the same time providing jobs for the like of Allan's union supporters from the CFMEU. Now, I wrote at the weekend that despite the crime, the machetes, the carjackings, the debt, the crumbling health system and free ride for renewable companies to ride roughshod over farmers, that odds are on that Jacinta Allan would win a 4th term for Labor, taking its rule to an uninterrupted, can you believe it, 16 years. Now, that might sound impossible, but when you consider the Liberals in opposition have had 3 leaders in less than 1 year, with Labor just 2 in 16 years, if she wins and serves full term, as she said she will at the weekend, she would, any fool can see the problem here. It might just come down to the fact Victoria is destined to be forever a Labor state. The latest opposition leader, Jess Wilson, smart, obviously she's a woman and young, but how does she convince Labor voting blue-collar voters, many who owe their jobs to state Labor, to actually change their vote? She can't do it, it's impossible. And as usual, it's smart to follow the money. I looked up Sportsbet today. They've got Labor at $1.55 to win next November, the Coalition on $2.50. Bill Hayden, former Governor-General and federal Labor leader, said of the 1983 Bob Hawke versus Malcolm Fraser election, a drover's dog could have won. Well, that should be the case in Victoria, but sadly it is not. And just to show how much the current Premier has learnt at the foot of her predecessor Daniel Andrews, she used one of his common traits at a media conference just this morning. For context, in a podcast recorded by former Financial Review columnist Joe Aston, the former Crown Casino owner, James Packer, the billionaire, this is his words, not mine, referred to Daniel Andrews this way, I quote, I couldn't think, this is not me, this is obviously James Packer, I could not think more lowly of Daniel Andrews. I think he is human filth. Have a look at the quote.
Daniel Andrews is about my least favourite person in the world. I think Daniel Andrews not only ruined Victoria, he almost ruined my life. I couldn't speak more lowly of Daniel Andrews. I think he's human filth.
Geez, this sounds like a Joe Aston column.
There you go. I hope he sues me.
Well, Jacinta Allan was out promoting the soon-to-open Metro Tunnel today. The Premier responded but refused to utter the name of James Packer. Here it is.
I disagree quite strongly with that individual's comments and his characterisation of the former Premier, and I'm going to leave my comments at that.
Well, that was a tactic used over and over and over again when Daniel Andrews was criticised by anyone. Obviously, Jacinta Allan has learnt from the master.